Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
You are open and honest as can be on your Instagram page. I swipe up and down, and you give such incredible advice. And the page is called the Orthodox Therapist for those of you who want to follow it. And bring you on because a lot of the men who listen always want, and I know they want a better relationship with their wives. Some of them are Orthodox, some of them are not. We're all Jewish men who are listening. But I
Mhm.
know that one of our goals is to make sure that we've got a great marriage, that we're successful in that area as well as work and our children. And one thing that came up that I saw in a different podcast, one, you have 10 children, so
I do.
kudos to you and your husband. Like
Thank you.
whenever whenever my wife and I we complain we have three beautiful daughters, my rabbi also has 10. And I'm like, listen, Rabbi Strugo has 10 kids. Let's not complain. Right?
Yeah, but you know what's funny? People say that to me also, but I'm like, yeah, but your three could be my 10. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
so whatever. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So tell me just really quickly, the Orthodox therapist, how'd you get into therapy? What made you want to do this? And then what made you want to help people in their marriages?
So, I was raised very much in the way that I always knew I wanted to be a wife and a mother, but I was raised very much that go to school, do something, don't just not that being a wife and a mother is not enough. It's enough. Of course it's enough. But I was just raised to always to keep my education going. So I pushed myself to do that while having my first four kids. So I did undergrad and graduate school while having my first four. And then after I kind of took a break because I had my other kids, which for, yeah, like a lot more kids. And then actually, no, I got pregnant with my last while I was in the middle of my internship. So basically, I got a letter from the state. You have to do a certain amount of postmasters. They're like residency hours. So I got a letter from the state basically saying like, go do your hours or we're taking your license away forever. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, got it, Florida. So I jumped back into it. It was like less than a year post COVID. So it was pretty stressful because, whatever, it was just not a normal situation. And did my internship. That kind of pushed me back into the field, back into working. Because again, at that point, you know, I had nine kids. And every time I had tried to go back to work and tried to do it, I felt like it was pulling away from my family and I couldn't do it. It just wasn't an option. Um, and this time it kind of was like, you don't have a choice. Like they're gonna have to figure it out. And that's kind of exactly what happened. Moving into, and then I opened up, once I finished my residency, I opened up my own private practice. That very, very quickly shifted into what I'm doing now, which is like intimacy, relationships, marriage, because there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap. There are a lot of marriage therapists, Jewish Orthodox marriage therapists, but not many that are talking about what I'm talking about. That's the problem, meaning nobody's as forward facing and transparent
Yeah.
that they're just like, call a spade a spade. Let's not pretend. It's okay. Like, let's just talk about it because that's something that I've seen a tremendous amount of, that there's just this gap in communication where if you don't just say what you mean, the other person doesn't understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I see it in the community, I see it with couples, I see it with parent-child relationships. Like it's not only that I do marriage, I do relationships, period. So relationships include relationships with your kids, relationships with friends, you know what I'm saying? It's all of that. And then I also do the intimacy piece. And again, that kind of followed organically. I was very nervous to step into that space because again, I do have 10 kids. I am a religious Orthodox woman. I am, pretty well known in my community. People know who I am. So it was a risk. You're taking a very big risk by being the one to, use your voice to try to help people. And especially in the way that I do it. Like I don't I'm very straightforward.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've been doing it and thank God, like it's been in the beginning, it was hard on my family. They were a little bit like, Mommy, what are you doing? This is so embarrassing. And now they're like, okay, all right, Mommy, whatever, you do you. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm happy we're all on the same page. Because
Yeah.
that was what was important. I had to get my kids' permission.
How old's the oldest?
18.
Okay, guys. So you got teenagers, and so they're watching, or they
Yeah.
might be
So
on
my
Instagram.
18-year-old does follow me. The rest of my kids don't. And
Gotcha.
people are like, how could you let her? How could I let her? She's an adult.
Yeah. 100%. She's
And the
18
bottom
years
line is,
old.
honestly, like I hope she follows me. Like I want her to it's okay, so she's post high school, she's in seminary now. I want her to know what's going on in the world. I don't want her to be like in a sheltered bubble, and she's really not. And the truth is, anytime she sees something that she has questions about, she screenshots and asks me. Like it's not like we have that level of openness, um, me and my daughter. So, and my other kids, they're not, they know what I do. They know about the NGLs, they know about my story, they know about it because they do.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. And I can't, people always ask me that, like, what do you mean teenagers could see this? Okay, great. I'm not their parents. Like, those people can parent their children. It's not my
But you're
responsibility.
not saying anything like raunchy or bad. You're talking about relationships. You're talking about
Right.
things that we need to
So
speak about.
correct. So on, that's why, which I wish more people understood this. That's why I keep anything that's raunchier in the stories
Hmm.
and not on the feed. Because on
Yeah.
the feed, you would have, like, if you look at my name, you see the feed, fine. The highlights or the stories, you have to click on them to see them. So it's
Correct.
just like adding an extra layer of like modesty to it. Eventually, it might have to become more. I'm not sure how I'm going to navigate it yet, but whatever. It's the bottom line is if they're not finding out about it from me, they're finding about it out from somebody. So,
Yeah.
okay.
And if not, like if they don't have a place, because I went into your stories and I went into like the anonymous questions,
Yeah,
and
that's what it is. All my stories are essentially anonymous questions.
yeah, and I loved it
Over
because
5,000. Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
saw women asking like very, very deep, intimate questions, things that they wouldn't speak about to their rabbi or rebbitzin or their friends or anything, and they're getting some solution or an answer, something from somebody, which is what they need. And
Right.
I think that a lot of times in relationships, for me, like you talked about it earlier, you said that we just need like clarity, like we just need to really talk about these things to be able to work through it. And one word I wrote down that I would love to focus on today is expectations in marriage. I think
Hmm.
that's a very, very big topic as I talk with my friends. And, we get together as friends. And, some guys will complain about their wives and some guys will just stay quiet. And some people will just, just kind of like suffer in silence, essentially. And for me, I think it's a lot about like the expectations not being met between husband and wife for me. And so I'd love to dive into that and
No, it's
see.
definitely, that's a huge part of it. Meaning you have these two people that are getting married. That's why, by the way, I'm like the biggest proponent of premarital counseling just for this
Yeah,
purpose. Even if you have one session or two sessions where you just talk about like, this is my expectation of marriage and this is what I think marriage should look like. And then we find a happy medium.
yeah.
People just think you like hop into marriage and it just comes naturally. No, it doesn't. That's not reality. It's not so natural for everybody. Sometimes it's hard. If you're two people with very different personalities, you have to learn how to balance that. And if nobody tells you how, or you don't, that's where resentment builds.
We've been together for a long time, married in 2011. I was thinking about my daughter. I had my daughter 11 years ago, excuse me. And and the biggest thing that we've dealt with is expectation. And even just, how we grew up. I'm Sephardic, she's Ashkenazi. Like we believe different things and we love each other and we're such an incredible team. And I think that sometimes what breaks it down, what breaks down the emotional connection is just the expectation. Like, well, I
Yeah.
expected this of her, she expected this of me, and then when there's just resentment built. And the newest thing that's I'm seeing within my friends is defensiveness because of it. So they get angry. There's so much anger there. So let's talk about that real quick. First of all, uh, premarital sessions or counseling, do you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I've in San Diego, I have yet to hear of anybody who's gotten married who's had
It's horrible.
premarital
No one's
sessions.
doing it. Like it's, and you know what's funny? Like it's such a big thing within like the Christian faith
Yes.
with certain, and hello. I like scream it from the rooftops. It happens to be I'm also a college teacher. Um, so it part of what I offer as part of the college teacher package is like a total of 6 to 8 sessions, but two of them are one of them is with me, the bride, and the groom, and one of them is one for post-marriage, once
Mhm.
they're already married, and just to like make sure everything's okay. Because I think that's also like what's normal, what's not, da da da, that type. You know what I mean? So yeah, I premarital counseling is something that I offer, and I wish more people would take me up on it because I think it would make that first year of marriage a little bit easier. Maybe not completely not bumpy, but easier.
No, I completely agree with you. Like even though we're like you marry another Jewish person, there's different beliefs, different levels of observance,
Right.
wants, needs,
Or
and
the
you
way
just have
you were
to
raised. Hello? I was raised
100%.
totally modern. This I don't mind to say. I was raised modern. I went to a modern Orthodox high school. Both my parents were Bali Tshuva. My husband was raised Hasidish.
Yeah, very different.
It's a little different. Yeah. So we have, I mean, it took time for and we dated for a long time before we got married. And I still don't like, we're married for, I'm going to be married 20 years in June. I still don't feel like I know every single thing about him.
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
which is not bad. I think it's great. Like I like to not know every single thing about him. I like to learn more about him, but um yeah, I just there's so many things that could be a thing, you know? And
yeah.
if they're never discussed or like like a light is not ever shown on them, that's where resentment builds, I think, in that darkness, you know?
So, what's the best way for a couple to get together and speak clarity so that the expectations are met? Because expectations change, right? You don't have the same expectation all the
Mhm.
time. What's the best way for a couple to sit and talk? Is it first they go to their own rooms, write down a list? Like, what's the best way to do it?
I mean, I think the best way, honestly, like you mentioned date nights before it, whatever. So I happen to like date nights, but only if you're like going and actually talking to each other. If you're just changing the location to then like sit and eat in front of each other and not like actually have a conversation, that's dumb. I'd much rather you be in your house. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like more comfortable and whatever. So, but no, I don't think each person needs to go sit and make a list. I think when you get married, you come to the marriage with certain expectations in your head of what this is going to look like already. So if lists work for you, yeah, you could sit down and do that, but that doesn't necessarily work for everyone. I think just having an open conversation and letting open conversation with no judgment. So letting your partner like literally sit there, stone face, nothing. Let your partner say what they want to say. And that's it. I think there's a lost art of like giving your partner the space to just say things that are hard and not hurt your feelings.
Mm.
Don't come in it with any judgment or expectations. Exactly what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And then after the person's finished, so let's say in my situation, after my husband's finished, I can then say, okay, did you mean X? You know what I'm saying? Like just having a conversation would mediate so many issues. I mean, the reason why I recommend premarital counseling is because many couples don't know how to even begin the conversation. That's the problem. So it's really more so like custom to each couple, like what would work for them.
Got it. So,
You know?
teaching them to communicate from the beginning.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's my
Yeah.
biggest thing. Meaning, I personally, in my opinion, I would say like 95% of my job when it comes to anything, meaning relationships, intimacy related things, parenting related, anything is communication.
Yeah.
95% is broken communication somewhere.
So I went to therapy before getting married because when I was dating my wife, she said, you don't communicate, you just hold it all in. It's gonna be very tough when we're married for you to just express yourself. So went to therapy, um, and then I went to get coaching with a guy who wrote the book No More Mr. Nice Guy, Dr. Robert Glover. Beautiful
Hmm.
book. And I started to express myself. And at first, my wife was angry that I was expressing myself. She's like, wait a second, like what happened to Igal? And then we got used to being able to open up and express, not getting defensive. But it was hard for her at first to hear what I had to say.
I think it's hard for anyone to like hear I think in it's hard for anyone to hear when when they translate what their partner is saying in a way of criticism, you
So,
know?
so then how do we, so I've lots of Instagrams and YouTubes and everyone says, don't take it as criticism, listen and open up. But I think that we also come in with a lot
No, I
of,
don't even think open up. I think just you need to be able to question your partner in a way that's not combative because you're not trying to come at it from a combative space. You're coming at it from a learning space, right? You're
or
trying
you
to
should come
learn.
at it from a learning space.
Yes, but okay, but if your marriage is not ready to have that
Uh,
conversation or your relationship, first of all, if your relationship's not ready for hard conversations, it's probably not ready for marriage.
yeah.
That's number one. Sorry, not sorry. Like that's the honest truth. Like don't get married if you've never had a conversation about things that might be hard because you're going to have those conversations when you're married. And I mean, unfortunately, we live in a very disposable society right now, and people are like, "Eh, got too hard. We'll just get divorced."
Yeah.
What? Like, I don't know what that is. Like that was never a thing when I was growing up. No one got divorced. And there were some pretty crazy. It's not like this generation is special that all these crazy things are happening. It was happening back then too. It was probably worse back then. You know, people
Yeah.
were doing
Oh, yeah.
because there was no like now, okay, we have this age of like AI and whatever. So maybe it's easier access, but okay, great. Back then people were doing it in person. There weren't online affairs. There were only in-person ones. There were only you know what I'm saying? Like there were only in-person strip clubs. You weren't doing like an AI, like it was not, and I'm not, again, I have my whole, stance on that, the umbrella of betrayal, la la la, what's considered an affair, what's considered infidelity, fine. But I'm saying like that's what was happening. And again, all across the globe, the most religious Orthodox Jews were also hanging out in strip clubs. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Right.
And I've heard of stories that are mind blowing, and then we think about like, oh, only these types of people or these types of people go through this. You know,
No, everyone.
yeah, I was riding in the car with my wife. We were going to Ojai, which is like 4.5 hours away.
Mhm.
My daughters are in the back, they're on their iPads watching the movies because we're going on a family vacation. And I turned to my wife and I said, I don't know what you want. Like we've been married for a long time, kids, survival mode. And I said, I don't think that you know what I want. Like we should just like really sit, intimacy, spirituality, financially, really get clarity on what we want
Hmm.
so that we don't have this lack of clarity and these missed expectations. And at
Right.
first, we were both kind of like fumbled through it, right? But then when
Hmm.
we figured it out, first of all, there was a little bit of surprise because I think sometimes you're surprised, like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know.
Hmm.
But when we got some more clarity, it became a lot easier just to speak and be honest with each other
Right.
without
Right.
that judgment that you said.
Exactly. Right. So when you can get to that, and listen, I'm far from perfect. Like if we had my husband here, he'd be like, yeah, right. Sometimes he does
Well, I
that.
was going to ask you about like imposter syndrome being a marriage therapist in a marriage where sometimes you like there has to be breakdowns. It doesn't work out
So
fighting.
it's interesting. Like, I don't have imposter syndrome in my marriage because I mean, we're married almost 20 years. We were dating for 2 before we got married. So like and we've had 10 children together.
Yeah.
And we've been through a lot. So like he's seen me at my worst, at my best. Um, and also thank God we really balance each other in a lot of ways. Like I'm more medical. This is like the most superficial. Like I'm more medical. He's more like calm with everything. Like it's just thank God. Sometimes and again, there's no world where we don't butt heads. And sometimes he'll be like, so the funny, like lately he hasn't, but so he's like my biggest fan, which is hilarious. Like he watches my Instagram every single day. Like because and that's great. Like I'm happy that he does. But there are sometimes he'll like send me a text in the middle of the day. We both have very busy lives. And he'll be like, that post you did, I think I could listen to it more than I actually can listen to in person. I'm like, thank you so much. Like that's great. So like when I use words, like it happens to be he is probably he is my work in pro like we're a work in progress. Like we
Yeah.
are always working on communication. And again, I am the loud one and he is the quiet one. I could not be married to myself. That would be
Yeah.
impossible. 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 So in that way, he's very much the opposite of me in that he's more quiet and more calculated in a good way. Like really thinks things out. I don't.
Yeah.
I try.
You just go.
Exactly. I try, like I really try. I really,
Yeah.
really try. And I've gotten much better. It used to be that like I was very much known as the person that like said said the things and just popped off. And it was just like whatever. And now, as I grow into my old age, I have to be, you know, whatever. I have to be more not calculated sounds like so negative, but it's not calculated. Just think before you speak. And I think that it should be that way in relationships too. Just
Yeah.
because they're your husband or they're your wife doesn't mean you can talk to them in any way. You need to
Yeah.
still have a certain level of respect.
Love it. So with the guys who are listening, I know that they're wanting some type of like, what do I do next? Obviously, the best thing is to give you a call to work with you. But
Hmm.
with the guys listening, and if they're thinking to themselves, either I'm expecting too much or like I'm not getting what my needs met through the expectations, or even the on the other end, where my wife is always saying that I'm not meeting her expectations and her needs.
Right.
What should they do? What are the first couple of steps that they need to do so that they can have that clarity with their spouse, with their wife, so that they can move forward and have that loving marriage?
So my first step, even when working with me, is a lot of times I find that people forget that they have to love their partner in a way that they want to be loved, not in the way that they want to love them. What do I mean? Like if you're somebody that's into getting gifts all the time, giving your wife gifts all the time if that's not what she enjoys or likes or feels loved by, is not going to connect with her. That's so I think the first step is what I tell to couples is I want you to go home and think about how you like to be loved, not how your wife likes to be loved or how your husband wants to be loved, how you like to be loved. And a lot of times they're like, huh? Like, what? Like, what do you mean? Because again, we're told over and over again, pour into your spouse, love your spouse. But like, nobody ever told us, like, wait, I have to think about what I need and how I like to be loved and what I want in order to be able to even verbalize that to my partner. So there's that. That's like a huge thing to think about what your needs are within a marriage. Number one, that would be the first step. And then when I get the like, what do you mean? How do think about your best friend, obviously extract the romantic aspect of it because the basis of marriage is friendship, you would hope, right? So, of your best friendships, what do you like about those friendships? What makes you feel good? What makes you keep coming back to those friendships and wanting to connect with this person over and over and over again? Because that's going to be the basis for your marriage. So that's where you would start, I think.
Love it. So have the conversation with yourself first to know
Hmm.
how you want to be loved, what you need, what your expectations are.
Right.
Then, of course, then I love that. Think about it like as a friend and what builds a great friendship. And when I think about that, it's, no judgment, honesty. I can communicate. We can laugh together, have a good
Hmm.
time together, and we know what each other wants and needs. I think
Right.
it's important
Right.
so that
But
we can
and
stay a good
I
friendship.
find, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this, I find that on both ends of the spectrum, but I'll use guys as your because you speak mostly to guys, but
Yep.
also I think it's worse for guys. No, I think it's bad on both ends actually. Um, that they kind of feel like, you know what, I'm just going to figure it out. I'll just throw some mud at the wall and hope that she likes something. It doesn't work. If anything, I think it builds frustration on both sides.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
I also
mean? Like,
believe, listen, I'm not the expert like you are. I also believe that we have to consistently not remind each other, but just like we want each other to win, right? Like we want the
correct.
relationship to work. And so if you just stay quiet about what your needs are and be like, well, you should know we've been married for
By the
15
way,
years,
it's the
like
worst. The
that
should is
sucks.
the
Yeah.
worst. I can't. It's like it's actually the worst part. I think it's the worst part. So I guess the shoulds is the expectation though. What do you mean? You should have known that I wanted flowers for Shabbos. How do you not
Yeah.
know? You should know. Well, I don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
allergic to flowers. I don't want your stupid flowers. How
Yeah.
about that? Like love me in the way that I need. I don't know.
Yeah. I
That
was,
that so I think that's the biggest thing is loving your partner in the way that they need. Because also, just to add one more layer, a lot of times I find that, let's say for me towards my husband, I love my husband in X way that comes the most naturally to me because it's the easiest, but it's actually a lot of times the way I wished he loved me. Do you hear what I'm
mm,
saying?
yeah, for sure.
So it's a lot of times you'll love your partner in the way that feels the most natural to you, but it's not always what works for them. I think like a very high percentage of the time, it's actually not what they need. And then again,
You're,
it just builds frustration because you're not having a conversation. But then also it it kind of that would be like another thing I would discuss with a couple. Like when I say like, well, have you ever thought about like special things your wife does for you that might be something that she would need? I don't know, like getting her a cold drink, or I don't know, little baby things, but to that person that's doing those actions, it's a big deal.
yeah. Like I
So
know, read the book Five Love Languages many
yeah.
times. I know that my wife is acts of service and time together. And a quick example, I'm nowhere near perfect, not even close. She
Mm.
would she would sit on this podcast and be like, "You need a session with Lauren," and and just I she had to go to this like holistic doctor for something, and so I sent her the link, and I just said like, "Here, I've already paid for you. I made it happen. Here's the link to book." And she was like, "Thank you so much. Like I appreciate that you did that." And this morning in my lunch, I packed my lunch, but she added some extra goodies for me, and I was like, "Oh, thank you so much." Right?
Right. Even just
So
saying thank you, like even just
yeah,
validating that, like, hey, we're in a marriage, but like these are, yeah, I get like they're not extras. I don't want to say that, but like just validating that like we do things for each other because we want to, not because we
so
have to.
let me ask you this: why is it then that couples, either the guy or the gal, they hold on to being angry, like if it's a necessity or a want, like kind of like if they want to drive the gap even larger, because of fear of abandonment, like whatever that is. But I feel like as I'm talking with my friends and we're talking about marriage, it's always there's anger and it's withheld for a very, very long time.
On both ends, you're saying,
On
men and
both
women.
ends. Yes. Like I'm angry at my wife for something. And so like instead of just saying like, you know what, I love you, this upset me, this pissed me off. Please don't do this again, whatever that is. Or she says it to me, whatever that is, like we hold on to it for a very, very long time.
I wonder if it's maybe because of fear of letting it go because of whatever the expectation is for like healing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Okay.
like anger, I think anger is an easier emotion. I mean, it is an easier emotion than vulnerability,
Yes,
right?
for
So
sure.
it's easier to sit in anger when you don't think whatever the again expectations, but whatever the expectation is for whatever the issue is. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but whatever the issue is, it's easier to sit in the emotion of anger than to be in the underlying emotion of like sadness. Like this is really sad that you like that we can't connect in this way and I really want
Yeah,
to.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that because of whatever's built up in the other person's head, they have that fear of it not being met, that it's just easier to sit sometimes in anger or in skepticism or you know what I'm saying while they wait to see what's going to happen. It's kind of like a
yeah.
safety mechanism almost.
Yes, I
It's
agree
like
with you.
padding, you know?
Yeah.
Anger
And I
is
think it's
padding kind of.
I think it's a horrible safety mechanism because all it does is just
Oh, it's
add,
bad.
yeah, 100%.
Horribly horribly bad,
Yeah,
but and it's listen, it's definitely something to work on because I don't like anger, worry, like these types of things, unfortunately, don't give you peace at all. Like I tell everyone, I think that the amount that you worry about a thing, whatever it is, usually is worse than the actual event. You know what I mean? The
yeah,
amount of emotional energy you're putting into whatever, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, okay, that was a waste of like an hour of my worry. Like that was dumb.
yeah,
So it's kind of like I don't disagree with you, but I think it's something like a defense mechanism that a lot of people, you know, kind of shift to because it's the easiest one.
yeah. And I wrote something down when you were talking, which was control. I believe
That
that sometimes
too.
people want to be in control, and so
Hmm.
anger, disappointment, those things you have the control when you have that essentially
Hmm.
in the relationship, even though it's detrimental to it. But I feel
Hmm.
like a lot of people want to hold on to control, and so that's
Sure.
why those types of things happen.
Right. And I think also especially because if like anybody learns one thing from this podcast, you can't make another adult do something they don't want to do.
Yeah,
Period. Doesn't matter if you're married to them or not, doesn't matter. You can't. So I think letting go of that piece also and just you can give your suggestions obviously but you're both adults so yeah I mean I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's expectations. I think it's control. I can't control what my partner does. I can only give them you know my take on it, how I feel about it. But the bottom line is and listen, there are plenty of times where I have a couple where you know the husband or the wife requests please don't do X and they do it anyway. So,
yeah,
like, is there a point of leading with anger? Very likely not. It's done already. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not, and again, I'm not talking about something like, God forbid, an affair or what. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I don't know, other things. Even like porn usage. It's very controversial. I don't know.
yeah,
It's hard.
yeah. What about I was talking with a rabbi the other day, and I asked him, he's a friend of mine, and we talk about relationships. We're very, very open. He said, Yigal, one of the worst things that a couple can do is to globalize things, right? Like to say things like, I need you here more present, right? I need you here.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. Yeah.
what does that mean? Like,
Exactly.
like, why can't you be more vulnerable, like you mentioned, or more clear? Tell me exactly the necessity as opposed to just globalizing the feeling.
Right. Like, I need you to please schedule the X doctor's appointment and take X kid or schedule, help me deal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Why are people not more like concrete? I don't know. It's a big problem. I think it's also a personality type that they want their spouse to like, I need you more present. I don't even know if they know what that means. You know what I mean? Like, what does present mean? You need me to sit next to you and hold your hand while you
Yeah.
work? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need from me? Come on. So
Well,
I'm very much that type. I'm
yeah.
just like, can you just tell me what you want? Can we not uh like play charades?
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's, and again, I think it's because in both directions, they're like, yeah, but you should know. Okay, I don't. I don't
Yeah.
know. So now what? Like, what do you want to do? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Love it. I
Yeah.
want to ask you a question about, because I don't know the Orthodox take on this, and
Okay.
I'm hoping that you would know or you'd get.
I'm gonna say I don't know if I know, but sure.
Yeah, that's right. I was watching a video. I bought this game for my wife and I. It's like a card game that you pick up a card and you answer a question and like you get deeper, whatever that is. And the game creator has a YouTube channel. So I'm watching the YouTube channel for fun, and there's a husband and wife, and they're talking about issues and picks up a card. And I'm watching the guy, and he's being extremely, what it looks like to me, feminine, talking about himself and not taking any responsibility. Just very, and like from a guy to a guy, I was watching this. I'm like, what is he doing? Then, of course, I looked at it and I said, man, I think I do that sometimes to my wife. Right. And
Okay.
so, my question is like the masculine and feminine energy in marriage. I feel like a lot of times Jewish men have become more feminine. Jewish women have become more masculine, which creates the clash, right? And
Mhm.
so, just want to hear your take on that, what you see happening. A lot of guys say you just need to man up. They just want a strong man. Some men say, I just want my woman to be more feminine. That's also globalizing. What does that mean?
Exactly. Right. Um, yes, I see it a lot, a tremendous amount. Um, I mean, the buzzword for it is polarity,
Hmm.
polarity in relationships. Um, so here's my take on it. I don't fully believe in this like I'm gonna be masculine and you be the I think marriage needs balance. Do you know what I'm saying? And I listen, I don't disagree with the concept that, most men want to be that like strong guy who's bringing in the money, etc. But you know what? Like, I know for at least in my relationship, my husband wants to be an emotionally connective dad too. So like what? He's just only supposed to bring in the money and then like say hi to my kids once a week? Like no, he wants to be able to be there for him too. So I do and that's considered a usually a feminine gender role. So I think there needs to be balance and every relationship is unique. Have I heard very, very strong opinions that like, no, the woman should just let the guy do whatever he wants and he should be the head of the household? Okay, it sounds adorable. Unfortunately, it's not 2025. It's just not. Um, Many people need a two-income household. Many.
Yeah.
So women are out working a tremendous amount. Um, and I know for myself, listen, I was a stay-at-home mother for many, many years, and I was blessed to be able to do that. Um, I could still do that if I wanted to. I choose to be at work. Why? Because I don't think that that feminine gender role of and again, I hate saying it like this, but this is the truth of just, and again, I'm not just a wife and a mother. I have 10 kids and I run a full household, obviously, right? I don't like, so I really, really like went for that. Okay. It
All
was
in.
not for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough for me. And again, I'm not saying I'm a perfect mother. I'm definitely not. You ask all my kids, they'll have plenty of things to say, plenty of critiques on my mothering. And I'm sure my husband has plenty to say on my wifeness. Wifing? I don't know, whatever the the verb is for that. But I needed more. So would you say working is more of a male gender stereotype or gender role? It is. But okay, that's what I needed for me to feel whole and grow. So I hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree that for whatever reason, women have stepped forward and men have taken a back seat a lot of the time. And I do think it's causing imbalance, but I don't think it's an all or nothing situation either.
Love it.
That's kind
Do you
of how I
think,
feel.
yeah, do you think that safety plays a part if the man isn't in that masculinity, woman who doesn't feel safe? This is what I've heard.
It's
And she kind of like
sometimes,
steps up to take control and then gets angry at the husband because she has to take on the role she doesn't want to take.
sometimes. I think sometimes it's meaning that probably comes from more of a an upbringing thing.
Okay.
I don't think that's the husband's fault that he's making her feel unsafe. It could come from a multitude of things that happened in her childhood. If she
Mm,
didn't grow up in a stable household, doesn't know, I don't know, issues with behavioral issues or issues with money or whatever. Like that's not his fault that she has those traumas. So sometimes you're bringing I mean, a lot of the time you're bringing your childhood stuff into your marriage. So that's not on him. He didn't do anything, but
yeah,
it happens, you know?
yeah. And vice versa. It's not on her because I think a lot of guys bring
Right.
in their childhood traumas. I know that, for example, a lot of guys, a lot of my friends, they they express this to me. My wife tells me this. My wife tells me that my mom was like superhuman in what she did and how she did it, right?
Oh, I get that a lot also. And then I'm like, no, don't worry. Like, I'm not
Yeah,
superhuman.
yeah. No, and then like I'll tell my wife, I'm like, well, my mom made some mistakes, and I bet you my father would have said that, and that's just how we saw her. But we also
Right.
bring those expectations into the marriage, I think.
Correct. And again, I think that too. I think that a lot of times, in both directions, men bring their expectations of what a wife is what they saw with their mother,
Mhm.
for the good or the bad. And I think women too sometimes can bring that expectation of like, this is how my father is or was, and that's my expectation of how I would hope that you're going to be.
Yeah,
So yeah, I don't think, but I don't think it's necessarily either partner's quote unquote like fault. But I think that's part of communicating and growth, is
yeah,
learning that about each other, what your needs
yeah.
are.
Within the community that you work with, like the Orthodox, and I'm sure you work with other people, I
Hmm.
think that there's different agreements between couples, right? Like an example, we have very religious family members who the husband wakes up, goes to shul at 6 o'clock in the morning, goes to work, doesn't, goes to study afterward, doesn't come home till 8:30 at night, whatever that is. And my wife might not agree to that, but his wife agrees to that, right? That's the agreement,
Correct. Yeah.
right? And so there's different agreements. And so I think a lot of times as we speak about marriage to our friends, we're bringing in from our agreements and or their agreements, and so we're agreeing or disagreeing, and it kind of creates um, a break in my marriage. I'll give you an example. If I'm sitting there complaining to my friend, and my friend's like, "Yes, like, what are you talking about? That's absolutely fine. Like, my wife and I are okay with that." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then he opens up. He's like, "Well,
Right.
Yigal and his wife don't do that. Why do we do that?" So, what do you think about
Yeah.
those agreements and when it comes to different
I don't think it's
marriages?
something that should be openly discussed with your friends.
Okay.
Like I just think, and I know people do that. Like it's interesting because I don't think that your marriage or your relationship should really be discussed. Definitely not your intimate life should be discussed with like
Correct.
friends. Like it's just
Uh,
so highly inappropriate. I actually had a couple ones that the woman was like, "Nah, I don't care. I could talk about it with his friends." I'm like, "That's really inappropriate and weird. Like you should not be okay with that. You should not be okay with your husband going and talking with his friends about what you guys did in the bedroom last night. That's weird and
mhm.
inappropriate and not okay. So don't do that." Um, I lost my train of thought. What were we saying? Sorry.
We were talking about agreements.
Okay, agreements. I think every marriage has one. You have to. As you grow and more, variables come in, variables, i.e. children, you have to kind of and certain things are unspoken agreements, like I don't know, mom takes the kids to the doctor, or who's gonna do if I mean, a lot of my agreements come are surrounded by my kids, but which one of us has the busier work day that if we get a call from the school that we can just leave work and go pick up the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of stuff. Or even, and again, this would be the male female gender rule thing of like, okay, like we need food in the house. Who's, going to the supermarket? So
Yeah.
I think every marriage has some agreements just because otherwise, how are you functioning?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
don't think otherwise it's one person carrying the load all the time. That's not going to work either.
well, I also think that there's unspoken agreements which breaks the expectations,
Yeah, for
right?
sure. But then what happens when those unspoken expectations become frustrations? Like, I don't know, like the assumption that like my husband's job is more important than mine.
Yeah.
One of my kids is sick, needs to go to the doctor. Hey, honey, like, okay, so and so needs to go to the doctor. Can you take her later? And what do you mean I'm at work? I'm like, I'm at work too.
Yeah.
And like, and it happens to be in my situation, my husband runs his own business. So he has much more flexibility than me. Like if I have to, obviously, I'm doing face-to-face. I can't be like, sorry, like I'll call you for my kid's doctor's appointment. Like that's not professional.
Yeah.
He can move meetings around because he's the boss. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
also the boss, but you know what I'm saying. We have
Yeah.
different jobs. So I think that also, and again, you're not wrong that as your marriage transitions into different phases of your life, meaning no, could I have done this 10 years ago? Absolutely not. I had little babies at home and it wasn't an option. I needed to be with my kids. But as your marriage transitions, you kind of have to transition with it and change the agreement as it's going, you
Mhm.
know? And I hope
Yeah.
that you have to. Meaning that was another thing. Like when you get married, you have this like checklist in your head of like what you want in a spouse, right? And then 5 years later, you're like, oh wow, like they don't check the boxes anymore. I sure hope not. I sure hope that you both grew and that those check boxes moved and changed because if
Yeah.
you're still at where you were 5 years ago with those check boxes and those were your goals, something's wrong with you, not with your
Mm, I
husband or your
love that.
wife. You know what I
Love
mean?
it.
I mean, really.
Yeah. Lauren, what would you say as we wrap up? You said something, you said like, I screamed this from the rooftops, right? What's the one other thing that you scream from the rooftops that just angers you, not angers you, but like frustrates you that you're seeing a lot happening with clients, with people on Instagram that are sending you messages where you're just like, stop, please, everybody stop doing this. This is ridiculous. This is hurting all the marriages. What is that piece of advice?
I mean, lack of communication for sure. I mean, also the obvious things of like infidelity and, I get a tremendous amount of that, unfortunately. Um, but communication, learning how to have basic communication with your spouse will help you build a solid marriage. That's the truth, and a lot of times, and also that like it's the norm. It should become the norm that you might not be able to do that on your own. You might need
Mm,
some guidance or some help from a coach, from a therapist, from someone to help you navigate that because there is like they give you this like ketubah under the chuppah, like here you go. But they don't give you like a book on like here's how you develop emotional
yeah,
intimacy and communication. They don't do that. No one's doing that.
yeah,
So that would be what I would say. Like if you can't most people, I'll be straight, most people cannot struggle with developing emotional intimacy with their spouse. Um, get someone to help you. That's it.
yeah. Question. Do you work with people one-on-one and not just couples?
Yes. I
Awesome.
work with everyone.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I need some help raising my emotional intimacy and learning how to communicate, reach out to Lauren. Go to Instagram, The Orthodox Therapist. Your
Hmm.
Instagram is awesome, incredible information.
Thank
Start
you.
following her. Lauren, keep it up. I believe that we need more people who can just say it the way it is and be open and honest about actually what's going on. Because I do think in the Jewish world, especially, we've put everything underneath the rug for way too
Mhm.
long, and it's what's causing the breakups, the infidelities, it's all this type of stuff that hopefully, with your help, with your work, can mitigate some of those things. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And for those of you listening, stay tuned for the next podcast episode of the Tribesmen podcast. We'll be here. Oh, and one more thing for you, Lauren. I say to everybody, and I forgot to say this to you. May you be blessed with chazak, vemat, strength and courage to keep doing what you're doing.
Amen. Thank you.